So in my last video, I talked about what everybody else in the whole world was talking about, the attempted deletion of President Trump. We're starting to learn a lot more about that. Of course, everybody else immediately said that it was a setup. It was just so easy to see. It was especially easy for me to say. Out of my last 10 videos, I've probably done 6 videos on how they're trying to get him. I did at least 2 or 3 videos on the lawfare they're using to try to get him into Rikers Island and then have him deleted. I talked about the Mar-a-Lago thing where they tried to send in FBI, plainclothes FBIs into a Secret Service protected area and have them deleted. They had medical deals, medics, hospitals on the standby in case there were injuries, but I do a lot of videos on assassination tech, and just like in the case of Princess Diana, I talk about how they always peel back the layers of security, but then they'll have like some medical or some hospital or medics or whatever. And what that's for is to, if there's any wounded, i.e. the target, they make sure that the target doesn't live like they did with Princess Diana, sadly. So my last video, I talked about how this was a setup. I've been talking about this. I've been on and on. I've been talking about how they've been trying to kill him, been trying to get him. And I talked about a Secret Service agent that got unlived during one of his visits to Scotland. I talked about a potential FBI agent going up in the Trump Tower and them stopping him there. When you see the FBI over and over again, what they're doing, you see over and over again that they are not our friends, that they have been totally infiltrated and are basically like a Stasi-like, KGB-like entity where they are running lawfare exercises to try to get Trump. They're running lawfare against his associates. They are running exercises where they get into Mar-a-Lago and try to start a Waco-like firefight with Secret Service. And now that we see the Secret Service, we see that that could have been a setup as well. The FBI could have went in there, a supposed firefight could have happened, and of course, President Trump would have gotten deleted. I've talked about this in my other videos very, very much, so I'm going to tell you why they're trying to get rid of him. In my last video, I briefly touched on, and go check it out. In my last video, I briefly touched on what's going on. There's a secret war going on. I've said it over and over again. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention the missile fired at Air Force One, another attempted deletion. So 4, 5, 6 attempted deletions that we know of, and there's others. I'm talking about it. I'm screaming it to the heavens. I'm trying to get everybody to watch my channel, to see my channel, to see what I'm talking about, because no one else is talking about this, not in the way that I am. I'm telling you that the reason why they're trying to get President Trump is because there's a secret war going on, and he stopped them at the goal line from achieving their goals. David Rockefeller himself said that we are on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis, and the nations will accept the new world order. That's where we're at in history. In human history, we are at a crossroads where we either stop these guys or the whole world goes into New World Order darkness, and it's over for you and for your children. I'm over a half century old. I've lived. I've been everywhere. I've seen the world. You know, I'm doing this for Americans, America, and for the future generations. They are going after Trump supporters, trying to say that we're terrorists, and that's what they're going to do. We're going to talk about that today in this episode. What they're trying to do is, what I suspect was going to happen is after they pulled this deletion of Trump, what they were going to do is have Antifa members rioting in the streets, acting like they're all mad that President Trump got deleted. The crackdowns were going to happen, and then they were going to call anybody that's a patriot, anybody that's ever worn a MAGA hat or whatever, terrorists. They've already called PTA mothers terrorists, so that's their next plan. That's their next move, and we're going to talk about that. So In my last video, I talked about how Trump they were trying to get him deleted. I'm talking about things that no one else is talking about. I talked about how they fired a missile at Air Force One. And what we're going to talk about today is going to be along the lines of that Air Force One missile shot. More missile shots, this in 2018, more stuff went on. It's like a James Bond movie. It's like an Ian Fleming book. When I tell you what happened, the secret war that's going on, the moves that have been made, the things that are going on, and most of the public has no idea what's going on, you're gonna freak. So Donald Trump got into the White House. He snuck in. The way that they did it was they approached him and asked him if he would run, because high-level generals and the NSA and DIA and other players saw where Obama and Hillary Clinton were going with things, and the moves that were being made around the world as well. So they approached President Trump and asked. At the time, he wasn't president. He was just Trump. They approached him, asked him if he would run. They told him kind of what was going on, and he took a couple days to think about it and realized that he had no place in the New World Order anyway. So I can't even believe, I'm listening to myself talk about this, and I think, any New World Order talk or anything like that is crazy. But I'm going to tell you everything that's going on, all the moves. Once we talk about the event that I'm about to talk about today, you're going to realize that this New World Order talk is not crazy talk. It's their agenda, it's their plan, it's their religion. So Donald Trump knew that he had no place in the New World Order that was coming. And he also knew that there was only a select few people were going to be able to, maintain what they had. Everybody else was going to be there. Everybody's stuff was going to get taken. Any finances, all that was going to go away. They're trying to put us in 15-minute cities with only electrical cars. They are making moves, and we're going to talk about that. So they approached him, and he realized that he had to help. He has talked about running for the presidency since the 80s, and they approached him. They knew that he was pretty much squeaky clean. They approached him and told him that he would be totally protected and totally helped, and he agreed to do it. So he started campaigning. I thought that when I first saw this, I knew what was coming. I already knew what was going on. I knew that Obama had made some moves to corral the United States into a situation where nobody was going to have rights, no individual rights, no states' rights. I already knew this. I saw what he was doing. I knew the plan. I knew the playbook. I knew Hillary Clinton was going to come in and things were going to be bad. And when I voted for Trump in 2016, I thought it was. When he started campaigning, I thought he was just being, just doing a publicity stunt. I voted for him, and then that's when the fireworks started. In 2017, they did everything they could to trip him up, and the media was blasting him. They've been calling him a Hitler and calling for his demise since 2016. But 2018 is when things really started to cook. In 2018, so the deep staters, Hillary Clinton and all them, they had a plan to create a limited war with North Korea. They were going to have some type of nuclear event go off, blame North Korea, and then that's when that was going to be an excuse for the draconian laws that were going to be implemented. They were going to come in, they were going to take our guns. There was going to be massive amounts of immigrants flowing across the border. There was going to be potentially UN peacekeeping troops inside the United States. Definitely tanks and armored personnel carriers in states and areas. President Obama had written in executive orders for drone strikes in case there was any terrorism, and they were going to use that as an excuse to just start taking out opponents. And I knew this, I saw it coming. So the plan was to have a nuclear conflagration. I already knew this. I already knew it was coming but intelligence operatives have come out and given us more information. And this is what happened in 2018. Again, this is like something out of a James Bond movie. It's like a movie. In 2018, the original plan was to have a nuclear event, blame it on North Korea, attack North Korea, weaken the United States, so then UN or Chinese or somebody could come in, cause problems, create a one-party state once all the immigrants flowed in, be on vaccine passports, and then what was going to happen was then the nuclear event was this. We know it because it happened. So some very interesting things started happening in 2018. January 8th, SpaceX put a top secret payload up, and there was nobody knew what it was. It was very top secret. Nobody knew what was going on. Then the 10th of January, the Clintons, Bill, Hillary, and Huma Abedin showed up at the Hawaiian Islands, and they were acting like they were doing, a little vacation, but they were there in position for a reason, which I'm about to tell you. On the 13th of January, a ballistic missile warning went off on everybody's phones. The horns went out, and everybody freaked, because when that goes off, they know that something bad is coming. Either, they've got those horns for tsunamis, earthquakes, volcanoes, but nuclear missiles as well. By the way, after Trump had won in November, Barack Obama tried to keep him from coming in the White House, and the military told him that if he did that he was going to be tossed in the clink and in the brig. And so he told Hillary Clinton that she had better concede. So then after that, what happened was, out of nowhere, Barack Obama announces that suddenly North Korea has the ability to put nukes on missiles and is able to hit Hawaii. He's a lame duck president. He's going on the way out. He tried to keep Trump from getting in, but couldn't do it. So then he laid the groundwork now for a missile attack by North Korea. So then what happened was on the 13th of January, the ballistic missile warning came, and it was not a false alarm. It was the real thing. Everybody thinks that alarm that went off on the 13th of January over Hawaii was a false alarm, but it was not. It was the other thing. Think about this. It's either two things. It's either a false alarm or it's not. And if it's not, then what's going on? When you look at the excuse that they gave for that false alarm going off, they blamed it on one guy and said that he accidentally hit a button and told everybody and set this alarm off. That's not how it works, my friends. Sadly, most people in America have not been in the military, so they don't know these things. They may not even be intelligent enough to know that common sense would tell you that there's more involved with a ballistic missile warning than just some guy flicking a switch that's right next to the light switch. Oops, oopsie. No, it doesn't work like that. The way it works is the Naval Pacific Command has all kinds of sensors, satellites, all kinds of stuff in that area because the Pacific Ocean's the biggest part of the world. They've got satellites, infrared, they've got ships out, they've probably got underwater sensors. So what happened was this. It was not a false alarm, it was the real thing. A real missile was fired at the Hawaiian Islands on the 13th of January, and it was dealt with. It was taken out. It was stopped. President Trump and the Patriots knew that this thing was coming, and it looks like they put up SpaceX up there with some type of direct energy weapon and stopped it from happening. That's what really happened. What was going to happen was if Hillary was going to be in, they were going to easily do it. But because she wasn't in, what they were going to do is they were going to continue on with the plan, blame it on Trump, and then get him impeached or whatever. So that's why the Clintons were in the Hawaiian Islands there. That's why they were right there. They were at the southern part. This thing was launched at one of the northern islands. This thing was going to go off. Untold hundreds, thousands of more would have been deleted. And then what was going to happen was the Clintons were going to get up in front of the news cameras and start acting like they were totally caught off guard by this, and they were totally surprised and outraged, and they were going to rail and rail on about how President Trump failed the nation, and then they were going to get him out that way. But what happened was that missile was dealt with. It was stopped by something. There was even people on the coast that saw it. Their deals on, when you go on the internet, you're not going to find any of this. All of this was scrubbed. People on the coast saw a launch, saw it taken out, and that was because President Trump and the Patriots got in there. That's what's going on. President stopped them right at the goal line. President Trump stopped them right at the goal line from implementing their plan. It was going to be hell on earth. And after they attempted to get him a few days ago, you had all these snowflakes crying and bitching and moaning about how could he miss, all this kind of stuff. These little jerk-offs don't realize that President Trump saved their butts. If that missile had gone off, what would have happened? And they're talking about it now. They're talking about selective service, drafting everybody from 18 to 26 and shipping them off to war. And that's what would have happened. All these snowflakes crying, bitching, and moaning. It just angers me so much. But that's where we're at. When you control the media, you can control the more gullible, less intelligent people. Malcolm X said it best himself. He said, "What is the greatest power on the earth?" He said, "The media. The media has the power to make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent." And that's what's going on. They have been railing against Trump, calling him Hitler. Look at how much power the deep state wields with all of their politicians that they've got in their pockets, all the actors that they've got, the control of social media like Twitter, and that's a good point. That's when Trump first got in. Elon Musk was not very Trump. He was not on the Trump train. He was not a Trump guy at all. Very soon after that deal went down, that Hawaiian Island thing, Elon Musk changed his tune. He started to support Trump. Then he paid for Twitter, paid billions of dollars for it, and basically took that out of the deep state's hands to where more people could talk. Then Trump created Truth Social. So now because of the censorship on platforms like YouTube and others, a lot of people that were talking about this back then got purged off of these platforms. I'm being shadow banned. But anyway, that's what happened. A missile was fired. It was stopped. The Clintons were there. And now they're trying to get, and then in June 10th of 2018, another missile event happened. So this is like a James Bond movie. It's like moves and counter moves. A missile is launched out of a sub over Hawaii. A few months later, the counterattack is to fire a missile at Air Force One with Trump on board. On and on and on. And then some other things happen in August, which I will talk about in another video. A lot of interesting things happened in 2018 that nobody knows about, nobody's talking about, but I'm talking about it. I'm the only person in the world talking about it. I'm being shadow banned, and I'm screaming it at the rooftops because there's more things coming our way, and you need to be prepared for it. Everybody needs to get a few weeks worth of food. There's something coming. The deep state's getting desperate. This was another move on their plan, and they missed by implementing this plan, this New World Order thing, by centimeters. This is where we're at in human civilization on the earth right now. We are at a crossroads. We are still able to defeat the deep state because a bullet missed Trump's head by centimeters. That's where we're at. This is getting serious. And so what the plan was to take him out. And we're going to talk about the failures of the Secret Service. What they did. It wasn't a failure. It was all done on purpose. We're going to talk all about that today. What's being learned.
But I want to set this up for you so you have a better understanding of why they're so desperate to do this thing, and how lucky we are that only his ear got clipped. So they knew that this event was coming. They put up SpaceX. They somehow defeated it. They didn't want to put a bunch of Navy cruisers and stuff in the area to deal with it, because then the deep state would have been tipped off and they would have not gone on with the plan, and then we'd have had some kind of wild card situation. So instead of getting the Navy totally involved, they just put a SpaceX satellite over the Pacific and most likely dealt with it that way. So now the deep state has been set back hugely, and so now that's why they had to go into desperation mode. Again, exercise all the power that they wield. You can see how much power they wield. They were able to create hundreds of thousands of ballots and ship them to any state within hours. They were able to get people to fill out ballots and stick them under desks in Georgia. They were able to take all of these lawyers and district attorneys that Soros has paid off and create this lawfare thing against Trump. He keeps getting out of all of this stuff because he has high-level backing. That's why he has been able. There's no way that he could have defeated the Clinton dynasty, the Obama dynasty, the Biden dynasty, the McCain dynasty, the Jeb Bush dynasty, the media, the FBI. There's no way he could have defeated all of this if he didn't have serious firepower in his backing him up. So that's what happened. A missile went off. They fired it off. And if you're thinking that this is crazy, how did it was the CIA, by the by. If you're thinking that this sounds crazy, that they don't have the power to do that, let me read a quote to you by Senator Daniel Inouye. He was a senator from Hawaii, fittingly enough. He said, "There exists a shadow government with its own Air Force, its own Navy, its own fundraising mechanism, and the ability to pursue its own ideas of the natural interest, free from all checks and balances and free from the law itself." That's a senator. I think he was a senator for decades, 30, 40 years. So he was able to see the power levers being wielded. He said that there is a shadow government with its own Air Force, Navy, fundraising mechanisms. One thing he didn't mention is space technology. Another thing after this went down is Elon Musk in like one day lost like 40 satellites. And we're seeing that places like Maui and California are being raised with direct energy weapons, also the panhandle of Texas. So we are dealing, either it's other countries like China that have the technology now given to them by Hillary Clinton and others, or this shadowy government has its own spacecraft, and I suspect that's true. Now let's talk about the sub. The sub that fired the deal. The CIA got it somehow. They either had one made and got it struck off the book somehow, or they purchased one from somewhere else. That's not so crazy. In the 90s, there was a Russian mobster in Miami that went to purchase a Soviet submarine. He was connected to some Colombian drug cartels that were having a hard time getting their drugs into the United States through Florida. So they wanted to buy a sub. They knew that this guy had ties with the Russian military, so they approached him and asked him. His name was Tarzan Feinberg, and he was approached by the Colombians and asked if he could get them a Russian submarine. He was like, okay, I don't think so, but okay. So he made some contacts. Now you got to remember, the Russians in the 90s were selling off everything because they were a major high military nation that was totally bankrupt, which was a serious problem because you had them selling uranium, nuclear weapons, nuclear technology, tanks, bullets, everything. So this Tarzan mobster went to his contacts in the Russian military and asked them if he could buy. Well, he started out like this. He said, "Hey, I've got a funny question for you. Can I buy a submarine?" And the answer he got back was, "Do you want that with missiles or without?" So it would not be behind the CIA to have bought some of these things from Russia and be operating them. It was the CIA. Another thing that happened a few days later, there was another missile launch warning in Japan a few days later, and there's no switch, there's no thing. There's no one guy accidentally hitting the switch or bumping it with his elbow or something like that. This is serious stuff. We are told now by intelligence agencies that this submarine was caught. I don't know if it was destroyed or if it was caught, but that's what's going on. So that's where we're at in the world. I know it sounds crazy, but it's the truth. That's what's going on. And if you've been paying attention the last few days, you'll see that things that you probably never would have thought you would have ever seen in your life. So now we've got multiple attempts on President Trump. We're seeing now that everything has been deployed. All assets have been deployed to try to take him out. The plan was to take him out, have some fake MAGA guys ride around, take them down, and then blame patriots. And then what was going to happen was they were going to declare us all terrorists and start rounding us up. That doesn't mean we're out of the woods yet. That's still the plan, by the way. So let's talk about this attempt of deletion of Trump. So now we're finding out that this the head of the Secret Service, of course, she was put there because she's friends with the Cheneys and the Bidens. Interesting. Very interesting. I hope Miss Cheadle is enjoying life right now, because she's only got a few more months left until she's going to be seeing four walls. There's the Patriots didn't come this far to be stopped. Cheadle is pals with Cheney, the Bidens, and she was part of that J6 texts that got deleted scandal. So she's a deep state player. The next thing we see is another deep state player, Nikki Haley. She was hanging around at first when all the nominations for the Republican ticket started, the primaries and everything started happening. She was hanging around, even though she was getting destroyed in the polls. Nobody likes her. She's disgusting. She's a deep state. I'll keep this family friendly. She is a deep state player. And she hung around, even though she got demolished in all the deals, because she has been told to be ready to grab the nomination when Trump gets put in jail or deleted, and we see that happen. And she showed up uninvited to the RNC event the other day, and she wasn't invited. She was there because Trump was supposed to be getting deleted, and she was going to snag the nomination. So that's what's going on right now. We are seeing all kinds of things. So now when we look at the attempted deletion of Trump, there's absolutely no way. I have a friend that I've known all my life that went through the Security Police Academy, and he told me that there's absolutely no way that should have happened. Every rooftop should have been all you've got to do, it's Protection 101. All you got to do is go on to the stage there and do a 360 look around and go, okay, feel the fire, roof, yep. Put every rooftop should have had somebody. They had a whole section there that had nobody there. They had some local cops, some local yokels, D-bags, goofing around that weren't really doing their job, obviously. And this guy, there was a ladder involved. There was already a ladder there. So this guy just climbs up a ladder, and because other MAGA patriots saw this guy, they all started pointing him out. And supposedly a cop went up the ladder, poked his head. The guy pointed the rifle at him, and he ducked. And then that's it. No call, no nothing. This security, this guy I've known all my life, who went through the police academy, told me that there's no way that he would have just poked his head and dropped and not done anything, even if he was too cowardly to poke his head. And let me tell you, tactics with that type of stuff, what they do when they're looking is if they're looking at a wall, they'll kind of peek real quick. They could have done that. No, supposedly this guy poked his head out over there after they told him a guy with a rifle was on the roof. We're getting the story that a cop stuck his face over there. The guy pointed the weapon at him and he ducked, and that's it. No shots in the air. You know, if he was too cowardly to go up there and get this guy, he could have at least ducked and fired his weapon to alert everybody that something was going on. But that's the story we're being told. So they totally broke down a whole area. And let me tell you something. He wasn't the only shooter. I know that there was another shooter. This guy was an idiot knucklehead. And I shudder to think where he's at right now. I won't even get into that. This poor deluded fool, he was a patsy. They put him up there to fire some shots off. The Secret Service was supposed to delete him, and then the real shooter was probably to get away. Total breakdown. We see that this Cheadle broad is a deep state. You know, it's just so hard for me to censor this. Deep state player. There's some really good words I'd like to use. Deep state player, basically left the whole area unprotected, put the guy there to do the thing, and then gave him not the A team, not the B team, not the C team, not even the F team. They gave him the Z team of Secret Service agents. Did you see Melissa McCarthy there bumbling with her gun and effing around? And all of these chicks are too short to even be bullet stoppers for President Trump. I shouldn't say that. The Secret Service is a very honorable group and an honorable profession. But their job is to cover the president with their body when something happens. We're seeing that the Z team was there. The girls had no idea what to do, couldn't block for him, and we're seeing them fumbling around with their guns, effing around, screwing around. Melissa McCarthy is what I'm. This one chick, she's freaking out, worried about her sunglasses, freaking out. No one else got their guns drawn. She draws her gun, almost drops it, pulls it out. Muzzle sweeps about 100 people, and then she goes to put it in her holster, misses. Switches to her other hand, muzzle sweeps another 100 people, grabs it, and finally is able to get it into her holster. So they had the Z team there, they had breakdowns, and now they're trying to tell us, oh, gee darn, yeah, I'm sorry about that. Oopsie, our bad. So that's what's going on with this attempt on him. So in my other video, I showed how God bless Trump. I showed how President Biden put up a tweet on X talking about we got to put Trump in the bullseye. When you see these things, the deep state things that they do over and over again, you see that they're comms. That's the way they communicate to each other without having to get on the phone and have an NSA or every other foreign intelligence deal listening to them. They do comms over the thing like that. He talked about putting him in the bullseye, then he pulled it down, and then he started talking about how we need to calm everything down. This is the same guy that moved people into positions to lawfare him. They've been calling him Hitler every hour on the hour for the last 9 years, talking about what a threat he is to democracy in the world. And now he's telling us, after doing all this stuff and attempting to delete him multiple times with the FBI going to Mar-a-Lago and other things too, now he's telling us that we need unity and calm. This guy is a supreme POS. And it gets scarier. So now what's happening is this. Once you know how they operate, you're able to figure out what their plans are. Because now what they're doing is they're broadcasting all over the place talking about how, political assassination and assassination attempts have been on the rise in the last few years. And you'll see it on X, all the dimwits, all the zombies, all the bots talking about how gun control and this, that, and the other. We need our Second Amendment rights to protect ourselves from these D-bag, deep state douchebags. So this is the move now. This is what they're doing. They are now starting the narrative over the media about political assassinations, problems, people unruly, not happy, blah, blah, blah. President Biden, they want him to step down. He cannot beat Trump. He will not step down. So now we see the setup. The next setup is this. They're going to start running their deals over the media, talking about how political deletions are on the rise, and it wouldn't surprise me if some type of deal happened where another one of these events happen, and then now they can call all patriots, anybody with an American flag, anybody that's ever said anything on X, anything, they'll be able to call them all terrorists and start cracking down and throwing them into camps. That's where we're at right now. The zombie hordes on X, you see that they got all their talking points from the CIA. That's what's going on. Biden is a problem for the deep state now. He won't step down. They've got to figure out a way to get him out of there. And they eat their own. That's all I'm going to say about that. They eat their own. They've got a problematic guy who can't beat Trump. They know that when Trump gets in there, everything is done. Everything that they've worked for the last 100 years. Once the United States gets its butt in gear and consolidates and starts working toward healing all of the damage that they've done, they know that other states that have been taken over, like Canada, France, the cartels already own, our criminals already own Mexico, and that's how it is in a lot of countries. Ukraine. They know that if this slips out, that they're not going to be able to take over the world, and that their goose is cooked. So what's probably going to happen is they're probably going to pull some event like just happened a couple of days ago, blame it on anybody with an American flag, and that's when the feces is going to hit the oscillator. If I were you, my friends, I would get a few weeks worth of food. I'd get a transistor radio, and I would have some kind of power generation, because there's going to be, remember President Trump's the calm before the storm speech. Now we see. By the way, I have been watching this in real time for the last 9 years. Daily, I have been paying attention, seeing what the intelligence agencies had to say, see what's going on. Years ago, they said that President Trump was 100% insulated, and I kind of doubted him when all this lawfare stuff. I couldn't see how he was going to get out of this, but he did. They have called everything. Some things are about to go down, and if I were you, I would get ready. So, God bless. I got to get out of here. God bless. God bless America. God bless Trump. And we will see you on the next Ultra Top Secret. Please like, share, and subscribe. I am being shadow banned. God bless America.